is they're actually using their pen to do this, right? Another one worth looking at is well, texture is nice, but we haven't talked about textures yet, but it's a cool one. But here you can pick a different texture, and when you paint with it, you can see the brush takes up the texture that you have selected. If you haven't used texture, just the one number you want to really look at here is the depth. It's not going to really have a lot of effect if you have your depth at 0. You need to kind of create depth on texture. Funny results with this being zoomed in and stuff. I think it's same pen. It's just the circle, right? It's got texture going on with it though, right? And so texture is a really cool tool, and you can get a lot of effect off that. So like these rocks might actually take advantage of some texture. It could be a good way to create a brush for that. And there are a lot of textures to choose from, but they aren't necessarily all set up for you. And we'll talk more about these settings later, because they come up in other places. These other ones I'm not really too interested in. The dual brush is kind of cool, where you can actually have one brush interfering with another brush. It, again, can be a little bit difficult to understand how the two brushes interfere with one another. This is set the color burn. You multiply. Not getting any result on that at all. Let's get the spacing in there. So they have the spacing in there. Maybe we'll scatter. So now you can actually see there's two brushes running on each other, right? So let's try maybe this one here. So it's the dry brush on a round brush. So those are the two brushes we talked about, right? They're kind of zoom out a little bit here. These are both of them running on top of each other. So one's running on the other, and this probably won't make total sense to you quite yet how that works, but hopefully when we start talking about masking and stuff, this sort of idea will make more sense to you how that's actually working. Same textures. Color dynamics are cool in that you can do a hue jitter. Now I only have the black and white, so it's not doing any color, but this turn my saturation. Because we don't have any colors here. I don't really want to get into the hue and saturation with you guys necessarily right now. But again, let's turn those two off. Those are some of the settings, and I think that I would suggest if you have an interest, look these up. Okay, try and look them up online and see if you can find some information about them. I'm going to stick to the ones that right now are making more sense for what we're doing, and I usually really for a class of this nature really focus on shape dynamics, scattering, transfer. That's pretty much it. Like I usually don't do too much more than that. I would say though that the texture and the dual brush come up a lot. Usually the color, dynamic, it sounds cool at first, but I find it to be sort of annoying that usually you want to control your color. You don't want something else to control it. There's a place for it, I suppose, but these are probably the ones that we find most useful at times, when we're talking to students, at least at this level. And obviously, you can see there's a couple more that you could work with. But let me just turn all these off. Okay, smoothing by default is already on, so I'm just going to leave that on.